Thank you, Jaime. Finally, Ernie.
Yeah, thank you. I think we're in a really interesting period right now because, it's amazing that we're having this discussion about, regroupment or the thought of the possibility of being able to regroup. Because 10 years ago, it seemed very far off. It seemed like a very abstract thought. But today, I think because of the conditions created by capitalism, it's pushed us to think like that, to think about what are our common goals? What can we accomplish together? In building a world revolutionary movement. We want all honest and sincere revolutionaries and socialists to be able to work together in order to, push back against the austerity, in order to be able to survive through and build something through the instability to actually challenge the capitalists for power. And so I think this discussion is extremely important. And I think what Jaime touched on in his the end of his remarks, this next generation, the new generation, the youth today, I think are the answer to this. You can walk onto any college campus and there's discussions about Marxism happening. There's more flyers, there's more events up than at any time I can remember in the recent past. And with a deeper level of understanding about what's happening in the world and thinking about ways that we can confront those challenges. Now, a lot of it's being focused and channeled into the Democratic Party and to the Bernie Sanders campaign, or into these kind of Maoist formations like the Marxist Center, these perspectives of base building and so on. But these are mostly the initial ideas, thoughts, and first things that people come to or see and are attracted to. I remember when I first, got interested in socialism, I signed up with the, first group I saw, in 2001, which was the Socialist Party in the U.S. And my political consciousness developed from there. And I think that's, what's happening with these struggles in Latin America, and with the return of, struggle in the U.S. after a lull from the, first anti-war movement and the immigrant rights movement. The struggle has forced people to think about, these larger questions. And, we have to be there for them when they have those questions and want to have those discussions. And so I think it's important. This panel that we have here today is representative of our ability to project to a larger audience revolutionary socialist ideas. And so I think, through common work, this is just a very modest and small example of that. But, where are we in the trade unions together? Where are socialists in the trade unions together? How can we collaborate more in the trade unions in the U.S. In particular, obviously in other countries as well, but from our view in the U.S., how can we work together to introduce ideas of solidarity, building solidarity with these struggles in Latin America, as Blanca had pointed out, in the sectors of like logistics and the supply chain, how revolutionaries who are in those sectors that are a big part of the U.S. economy, how can they win over a base of workers, in that sector? For me, it's a question of how can we build a base in among hotel workers who are some of the most exploited workers in our city here, and win them to revolutionary ideas, and use those experiences of common work in the labor movement or in the broader mass movement to forge unity, among these revolutionaries, and be able to broadcast our perspectives to much greater audience. So I think this is like such an important first step in that. This is the maybe we try to put together a panel with all these different tendencies that a left forum event, or you know, but having something like this, and maybe, you know, doing something more regularly will allow us to actually see where programmatically and politically we have agreements, or work through differences and so on. So I think this is tremendously important to get to that point where you know, when we are building
time
in you know, in our countries, and having workers' power, you know, yeah, I'll stop there.
Thank you, Ernie. This is sort of weird for me because it's the only event I've ever chaired where I can't say, and let's all thank our audience, and then, I mean, our panelists, and then have everybody applaud, because you can't have everybody applaud. But I would like to thank our panelists one more time. I think this has been really great. I have not done an online project like this before that was this productive and interesting. I would like to echo Ernie's point. I think even, you know, having a panel on one of these topics and seeing, you know, more elaborated perspective from some of the panelists on some of the more controversial questions in particular, I think would be highly fruitful and helpful. To me, that's really much of the value of this. So I'd like to thank you all. Again, I just got a note that we had 50 plus people on live stream and other, but we've also got various different viewing parties going on. So it's you know, well above north of 50 attendees at this event. And I'd like to thank you all again, and have a great night, and hope to work with you soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being there.
Everybody.
And let's do this more. Bye-bye.
Take care. Have a good night. Thanks for putting up with my Spanish too.